As tonight's the Hila of the great Ben Ish Chai. Before we start, we'll talk a little bit about the Ben Ish Chai. Obviously, the Ben Ish Chai was a one of the greatest Sephardic sages of the recent past, and he was known throughout the world. You know, his vision affects Sephardic Jewry until today, right? Yeshivat Parat Yosef was the Ben Ish Chai's vision, right? You know, to make a Sephardic yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. He traveled there to at one point. Um, the Ben Shai, as a young child, was already known as a genius answering questions for his father. At one point in the Ben Shai's life, him and his brothers were thrown into jail. Yeah, there was accusations of stealing and government bribery or something like that. And he was thrown into jail for quite a while. It wasn't just 1 or 2 days. He was there for a long period of time.
Oh,
I think he was in his younger years. He was in his younger years. So a lot of the great Gedolim, a lot of the tzaddikim ended up getting thrown into jail by governments that are just not very friendly to the Jews. Obviously, in the end, it was found out that it was all fake, and he was let out. But he himself, he saw that period of time as a great tikkun for himself, for Klal Yisrael. I like to say over the story about the Ben Ish Chai's father. I think that kind of always puts a good perspective on how to, especially during the Siman of Elul, how to do things, right? So the Ben Ish Chai, uh, after his father passed away, a lot of people came to Ben Ish Chai and said that they don't have money. And the Ben Ish Chai said, "How did you survive until now?" And they said every Motzei Shabbat there would be a knock on the door, and Eliyahu Hanavi would give them money. He would leave a bag of money. And Ben Ish Chai had to explain to the whole people that it really wasn't Eliyahu Hanavi. It was his father, Eliyahu Mani, right? That he would give out the money, Motzei Shabbat, and when he would knock on the door, they would say, "Who's there?" He said, "Eliyahu," meaning he himself, right? And he left the money and ran away. And people understood it to be Eliyahu Hanavi. But the idea there is that we mentioned this many times that you have to be Eliyahu Hanavi, right? You have to be the person that the people need, the people look forward to, and you help Klal Yisrael, right? One of the ways to ensure a good Yom Hadin is to be needed, right? Hashem says, "Oh, this guy I can't take. He's important, right?" The shul stands on his shoulders. The community stands on his shoulders. The families stand on his shoulders. That's why you should be a family man, right? If you're a family man, meaning you take care of your children and your wife, then it's not so easy to get rid of you, right? Because he's a family man. All the kids depend on him. All this depends on him. So it's important that a person put that into perspective. Okay, now it is time to start the shir. We are holding, technically we are holding on page 228, but as this is part 2 of the same shir, I would like to briefly review the first part of the shir. So we're going to use the summary on page 244. So on page 244, there is a summary, and we're going to review what we learned last week up until today's point. So we're on page 244, and the first thing what we were talking about is making and breaking kalim on Shabbat. Can we make and break a keli on Shabbat? So this is known as Boneh v'Soter. Is there binyan and Soter by kalim? That was the question. So we saw from the Rambam that structure that's attached to the ground or the ground itself, karka or mechubal karka, that's where binyan occurs. That's where the malacha boina is. Question is, what about kalim? So there are various gemarot, various Talmudical passages that seem to infer that there is no boneh and soter when it comes to kalim. There was an example that was given. The Gemara said that if you have a chest, right? Not a closet to the house, but a chest, a separate chest, a dresser that in the olden days the hinges weren't screwed on like we have today because that screwing is a different problem. But it would be one, well, yeah, pin from the top from the bottom, like you have a Lego door, and you can pull it out. Oh. So the Gemara says you can pull it out, and technically you can put it back. But the Gemara says you can't put it back. Why? Because there's a third malacha here, right? And this is makebe patish, which is finishing up the job, making it full. So we're worried if you put it back, you'll put it back and secure it. And when you secure it, you're finalizing the keli, and that would be a problem. So from that Gemara, it seems to be removing a door, right, and putting the door back on a keli is fine because there's no binyan and stira by kalim. Okay, and we saw Gemara Masechet Beitza, number 3. Okay, on page 244. The Gemara Masechet Beya that tells us Beit Shammai says there is an issue of assembling a menorah on Shabbat because there is binyan by kalim, whereas Beit Hillel permits it because there is no binyan by kalim. Okay, we had a Mishnah, and the Mishnah said that you're allowed to break a barrel to remove the contents from inside. You have figs inside or something inside, you're allowed to break the barrel, but the Mishnah said you have to be careful not to make a proper opening, because you make a proper opening, right? Pesach Yafa, you're making it nice, then you're making makeh b'patish, you're making a keli that can be used. And an opening that can be used is when you put it in and take it out. All right, that means you can put something in and take something out. Okay, but the Rabbanan, even just taking out and taking in is a problem. Okay, number 6. Number 6 is where the monkey wrench really came in. Okay, there is a Gemara, Masechet Eruvin, that says, I had a question. Person made an Eruv, right, and he puts the Eruv in a closet and he locks it, all right, and then he loses the key, right? Is that Eruv still kosher because he can't access it on Shabbat, right? And that was the Gemara's question. So Tosfot says, why didn't the Gemara say, not a problem, since it's inside a keli, I can break the keli and get the thing, so it's definitely accessible. Why didn't the Gemara say that? Why did the Gemara say I can break the keli where it's inside, where it's stored? So that's where Tosfot gave 3 explanations. We're at number 7 right now. So Tosfot says there are different, that this Gemara in Eruvin is making a distinction of what type of keli. So the first distinction that that Tosfot goes with, and this is what the Ran also says, is if it's a large keli versus a small keli, right? If it's a small keli, then there's no b'nei b'sayter of a small kelim. It's a small keli. What was a small and not small? The Ran said 40 saw. If it's 40 saw, it's considered large. Less than 40 saw is considered small. Small thing, there is no b'nei b'sayter by small kelim. The other one, and this is the one that's very important, because this is the one we like to go with halacha. The Shulchan Aruch actually paskins this the way, although the Yalkut and others say that's not the way Shulchan Aruch would have paskin, but that is what's known as the mustaki. What was the mustaki? Remember from last week, the mustaki was this one-time use container. Okay, you open it up. It was made from recycled material. They put some sap and they put it together. And once you open up the mustaki, you cannot use it again. It goes to garbage. So says the Tosfot, when the Gemara says you're allowed to open up a keli on Shabbat, there's no b'nei b'sayter. It's only by a mustaki. Whereas in the Eruvin, Gemara in Eruvin is not talking about a mustaki. It's talking about a regular keli. A mustaki, a keli, a vessel that is created cheaply, and it's disposable. Okay, it's disposable. And the third answer of Tosfot was, is it a keli of stone or something else? Okay. It's made of stone. It's not considered a keli, so there would be b'nei b'sayter over there. Okay, that was Tosfot's 3 answers. And actually, the Gemara in Masechet Beya says when the Chacham said you're allowed to opening up the keli, the Gemara itself says that's the mustaki. That's when it was a keli that was made cheaply, and it's going to be thrown out afterwards. Okay, if you want to take a look at page 245, number 2 in the Chazara, Rashi says the mustaki is a vessel that was broken and then pieced back together with an adhesive substance. When breaking such a vessel, there was no need to forbid due to the decree to prevent him from intending to fashion a proper vessel. It's a cheap vessel. You're not making a Pesach Yafa. You're not trying to make a nice opening, so it's not a problem. Okay? Now, we saw Rashi was of the opinion throughout the Shas, Rashi is of the opinion that there is no Bona V'Soter by Kalim. Okay? We saw the Ran. The Ran says it's large vessels versus small vessels. Now we come to the good part. Okay? The Shulchan Aruch. What does a Shulchan Aruch hold L'maaseh? So, if you want to go back into the actual source, we're on page 213. Go back to page 213, and you're going to look at the Shulchan Aruch and source number 16. Okay, because this is kind of throws everything in the way it should be going. Ein bini mistir b'kelim. Says the Shulchan Aruch, there is no bini mistir b'kelim. It stopped over there. It'll be very easy to live life. You can do anything you want to kelim. But he goes on and he says, "V'haini mili when she'eino binyan mamash." All right, become chavit shenishbra b'dibuk. Right, and you put it together with some zofis, yachal lishbara, likach masher b'toicha, u'v'vad shal yichavel in a kavanah yafa. As long as you still have the kavanah not to make a nice opening, right? The imkain, if you didn't have a kavanah to make a nice opening, havelei mitakin mona, then you are fixing a vessel. So the Shulchan Aruch is very clear. Shulchan Aruch says, when are you allowed to open a keli? When is a keli? No binyan and steer there. There's no bonus. When is that? When it's a mustaki. Okay, that is the Shulchan Aruch.
You know, another
Avalim Shlema, right? Avalim Shlema. If it's a real keli, it's complete. Also, lishbra filu beinyan she'ino isukei.
A lot of the things we're talking right now, it's not really for this time of this generation.
All right, so very good, Chaim. So that is exactly how you learn halacha.
Because
You get
really
to the Talmud, you get to the Rishonim,
right,
and now you have to apply it to nowadays.
Right,
So that's exactly what we're about to do. So
we open things and we really don't use it anymore.
So let's see. Okay, so
My
before
dad,
we
you
move
hear?
on,
One of the disruptors.
if you're
Very annoying.
say again. Okay, put yourself on mute if you're not trying to say anything. Okay. Okay, so now that was a Shulchan Aruch's opinion. Shulchan Aruch's opinion, the only time there's no benefit cited by Kalim is by Mustakis. The Mishnah Brura brings the Gra, and the Vilna Gaon was of the opinion that's not true. The Vilna Gaon was of the opinion that Kalim, there is no binyan and no steer by Kalim. And the real clincher is the Chacham Ovadia in the Chavedat in source number 18 on page 214. And he writes, Nimtza Shirayva Poiskim, Baltava'am Harif Veharambam, Sayrim Shagam Keli Shalem, Mutter Lishbor B'Shabbat, Kedeli Tomi Menu Ma'achol Mashka. You're allowed to break even a complete Keli, not just the Mustaki, the Rambam, the Rif, the Karib Loimer, and you could come close to saying, Shagam Ran Shulchan Aruch, Ilura Divrei HaPoiskim that we just brought down, Hayapoisik Lahakel, Afiyu Shloi B'Mustaki. So the Chazon Ovadia wants to say, Yechavedat wants to say that Shulchan Aruch would have held. If you would have seen this, apparently the Shulchan Aruch didn't have this Rambam and this Rif, and he didn't know that they allowed by a Keli Shalem. So he says if they would have known, they would have allowed it. Okay, so that was the Yechavedat. Going back to page 245 in our Chazara of last week's Shir. This Rambam and this Rif, apparently he didn't see it. But it was missing. It wasn't there. Okay. Fine. So now we went in.
They didn't have it.
I don't know. That's right. You were raw. Different Poiskim. You would have seen.
How he knows what they saw, what they didn't see? That's my question.
Rashbats and the Rashbats, the Rashbash.
היה אומר את זה, לא היה מוציא מהפתק, הוא אומר, היה ריף, אמר ככה, ואני מוסיף את זה. הוא לא אמר את זה גם בכלל.
So in the note he writes, there are Chayim who agree with his understanding of the Rif and the Rambam. So possibly the Rif and the Rambam, we don't have the Rif and the Rambam over here for this case. But possibly their words could be we have it, but not in the Tzurba. But possibly their words could be understood one way or the other, and the way the Tamavaji understood it, he says if they would have seen the way I'm seeing it, the other Rishonim and the other Achronim, Shulchan Aruch would have agreed. Okay, so that's the Tamavaji. Okay, back on page 245. So now, like Rabbi Haim said, we have to apply it to nowadays. And nowadays, one of the big things that we have is canned foods. Okay, so you have now canned foods. So the question is, when I open a can, what am I doing? First of all, what am I doing when I'm opening a can? Am I making a vessel or am I destroying a vessel?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are different opinions. So you have the Tilali David. Look at page 245.
You need to take the food. That's it.
Page 245, source number 1 on the opening containers and canned food. Tilali David says you're dismantling, you're breaking when you're opening. And even though Soter, the Oraita means you're breaking in order to build, the Rabbanon, you can't break even for Stam, even just Stam to break. So it's a problem. You can't do it. The Chazon Ish says no. The Chazon Ish says, like many of you are saying, when you're opening a can, you're creating an opening. You're making a keli. You're doing binyan. You're boinem. You're makeh b'patish. You're making it possible to use.
But
Okay?
this is the Chazon Ish.
That's the
Chazon Ish is
Chazon
about
Ish.
6
Yeah.
years ago.
That's the
6
Chazon
years
Ish.
ago, not today.
Changing all the time.
Different times.
So take a
Those
look at
days,
B.
Everybody was poor.
So take
So
a
they see
this.
nice
This is
food,
a review,
they use
Rabotai.
it.
We didn't start our cheer yet. In B, take a look at B, and the Pesach Shavuot says it's only if such a keli would be reused. Okay, then if you're gonna open the can, it's gonna be reused. Then you're making a keli. But if you're gonna throw it out, then maybe it's not a keli.
Only most
It's not
people-
considered a malacha.
Most people.
It's
will use
what? It's possible to say that a can is a mustaki. Okay? It's
Right.
something that you're going to throw out.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. Okay? The Shmir Shabbat Kilchata says, even if you want to go with the sharp, the stronger understanding of the Chazon Ish to say he doesn't let cans anyway, all the time to open regularly, there's a way out. How do you open a can if you're worried about it becoming a keli? Destroy it. You're allowed to do mekalkel when it comes to food. So you're allowed to destroy the can first. You make a hole in the bottom. Now you open it and you can't use it ever again because it's completely destroyed. So that would be okay according to everyone. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, in source number 4, a sealed can is treated as a mustaki, and assuming that one does not plan to reuse it. Okay. Now, what exactly does reusing mean? For our understanding, what does reusing means?
He's saying it's like a mustaki, a broken kli, and he's not going to use it.
So I want you to think of this. We talked about it a little bit last week. We'll talk about it more this week. What happens if I have a pickle jar, a pickle can? I open the can of pickles. I take out 4, okay, and I have 4 inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I put back the pickle inside, am I reusing that container to hold it? Meaning, what's inside? I can hear you saying it's not reusing; it's still there, waiting for it to finish.
In your machshava,
But
The jar.
in your
they're not talking about the can right now.
you're
Okay.
right, but in your machshava is this can, after you're going to finish using it, you're going to throw to the garbage.
But what's considered
So-
finished using it?
When you take all
The last one.
everything.
But let's say I took out a bunch and then I could put some back in. Is that not considered reusing?
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure about that.
I think you
It's
still
not-
have, you still have
it's
3
not
more
really
inside
good.
and you have.
3, 4 inside, I still have inside. It's still inside because I didn't finish using it, but I took it out. Now I'm reusing the container to rehold again what I took out.
Look what they
So
say.
we'll
They say
see.
over here,
We'll
if-
see.
If most of
Um,
them they're going to
we'll see. We'll see. There's,
using it's not only.
We're gonna get into it more. A lot of times you understand we're using is that we finish it and then we use it for something else.
So,
But perhaps we're using it for the same thing also.
so all the Chachamim they're saying if you break a barrel to take a wine from it, are you going to use all the wine? No, you're going to take a cup or 2 or 3, but most of it going to stay there. So you are using it as a keli? No.
Okay, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Right? There are different. There are different opinions. We'll take a look. Okay. The Yalkut Yosef writes that in number 5, the one can open cans of food. He even permits you to use a can opener. And use a can opener to open a can. He says that it's better to open it before Shabbat. Okay? It's better to open it before Shabbat. You can use it. You can use a can opener. You can open the can because it's considered a mustaki. You're throwing it out. It's like opening up a fruit from the peel, opening up the shell of a nut. And he permits that. Okay? The Igot Moshe on page 246, 7, 246, number 7 over there. Rav Moshe was not very happy with allowing this. Rav Moshe said, today people, Moshe talking in his day.
Exactly.
All right. So when was his day?
4 years ago.
Okay.
I remember when he was niftar.
So it was 1987, no? 1987.
Oh, 4 years ago.
What? It was 87, I believe.
I remember.
Okay, so Rav Moshe said in his days, people were not being so meticulous in Hilchot Shabbat. So he said, if we're going to start allowing them to open packages and stuff like that, they're not going to be very careful, right? Especially Ashkenazim, if they have to be worried about the letters on the packages and how they're opening it and stuff like that. So he's like, you know what? Shouldn't allow it. That's what he writes. And Rav Moshe says, don't allow it. He says, although halachically it should be allowed to open it, it's a mustaki, you can throw it out. He says, but don't paskin that way for people. That's what Igor Moshe writes. Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata in number 8. He writes that all cans and packages, preferably, you should open before Shabbat, like the Yalkut Yosef said. If you didn't do, and if it's going to, if they're cans that are reused, right, then it's a problem. But if they're not really reused, then it's a machloket whether you can open it normally or not. So for Ashkenazim, the advice would be to puncture the can before opening it. If you puncture the can before opening it, it never could become a can. Okay? So that was on regular cans. One last section that we spoke about last week, and then we'll start our new section. The last section that we saw last week was soda cans. Why is soda cans different than cans? Yeah.
As a child, you have to be passionate to everything. To rely on. It does not have to be pushed.
The Sfardi who follows Chacham Ovadia writes that preferably should open up before Shabbat. If you did not open it before Shabbat, then he has what to rely on. Okay? Right.
Even a soda can.
Yeah.
But a soda can, who's using a soda can again?
Right. No, but the problem with the soda can is another issue. The problem with the soda can is today's soda cans have a tab, right? And when you open the tab, you're opening it a very nice petach yafa. You're making a nice opening.
So what? This is how they
It's
make it.
mechatech. It's
No,
making
are not opening it.
you're
This is how they
cutting
make it.
on a line on the soda can, the tab. Come on, that right here on page 224. That picture.
Here, you cannot use it out.
Right, but there's another issue. See when you're opening it, how you're opening it so nicely?
It's dangerous.
Oh, that's even a bigger problem, right? If it's preparated, right? You're cutting on a dotted line. You're cutting in a certain place, so that might be an issue as well.
But you are not cutting it.
So
They made it this way.
okay, so take a look. You remember from last week, good. So number 3 on page 246, number 3, number 4. Let's see number 4. Mechateach also applies to cutting an item in a specific location. Okay, even though the size is not important. All right, so now comes Halach L'Maisa. The Minchat Shlomo writes, it's a disposable vessel. You're throwing it out. No one's reusing a soda can.
Nobody.
And in addition, when you're opening the tab, you really don't care about the tab. You're not trying to measure it. You don't really care if it opens like this or like that. You're just trying to get to the liquid. And they make it easy for you. They make it easy to open.
Right.
So that's what it is. Therefore, Minchat Shlomo says, or Shlomo Zalman says, you can open a soda can. Rav Elyashiv, on the other hand, says forbidden. You're not allowed to because you're cutting so perfectly. Orchot Shabbat, he brings down Rav Auerbach and Elyashiv, and he says they argue. The Yalkut Yosef, he says you can open regularly, but he brings from the Orlin Zion that the Yalkut Yosef and the other Sephardic poskim say when you open a soda can on Shabbat, don't open the tab all the way. No, a lot of people do. You do the tab, you go
like
crack
this,
it
you
open.
don't do it all the way.
What's
It
not?
still stays.
What they mean is that the part that you're gonna bend down shouldn't be bent down all the way. Why? How does that help? How does that help? Because then I didn't make a complete keli. I didn't open it all the way. Right? It's not a petach yafa. What do you when I mean open?
When you go like this,
Yeah,
it just allows it to open up a little bit the valve.
yeah, that's exactly what we're talking
Right,
about.
so it's not open all the way.
That is considered all the way. What we're saying, not all the way.
When you like you take go like
No.
this,
So let me explain myself. The tab shouldn't be pushed down all the way. Okay, so you do it slightly. You do it slightly, and when you pour it, it will be a little funny pouring. Okay, when you open it regularly, it pours nicely out because it has a nice big hole. What he means is don't open it all the way. So then, yes, then it's not makabeh patish, and then it's not complete keli. It's not a perfect covering opening. So you get out some of the problems.
Why don't we talk about the toilet paper? Why is it
Okay, we'll get to the toilet paper shortly. We'll get to the toilet paper shortly. I promise. Okay. However, Rav Shmuel, Rav Yaakov, Rav Shmuel Vosner, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, Rav Yisrael Belsky, all hold you cannot open a soda can on Shabbat. You hear this? Rav Yisrael Belsky, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, or Shmuel Vosner, all hold you cannot open a soda can on Shabbat. The only way out is to make a preparation. Cut it before you start opening it, and then it can't become a keli. It can't. Yeah, you have to break it and then open it. Puncture it and then open it. So when I said this at home, my girls were like, "So the soda's gonna be spilling everywhere. Where is it going?" I guess you have to open it in a cup or something. It's a mess. Okay. So I heard from Rav Rosner. Rav Rosner said that he was also said he said when it comes to soda cans, there's a lot more problems than regular cans because you have the cutting, you have the other issues when it comes to soda can. So he said if there's anything you'd be machmer on, you should be machmer on soda can. That's what Rav Rosner said. And then he said, if the package of the soda is going to get ruined if you're going to open it before Shabbat, right? And by the time you get to it, it's going to be no fizz and this and that. So then you have what to rely on. You have Shlomo Zalman, you have others to rely on. So then you can open it up on Shabbat. That's what he said. If those who go there, Shlomo Zalman would open it normally. Yeah, it'd be the same problem. Yeah. Okay. Again, Rav Shlomo Zalman allows it. Other Ashkenazic poskim do not. Okay, that was the review from last week. So now let's get into the new stuff. Okay, now we are holding on page 228. Okay, the first thing we have to talk about is tearing packages. So, example, ripping a milk bag or cutting a milk bag open. Okay. So first thing, we have what's called korea, right? Korea is ripping. Where was it in the Mishkan? Where did you have the malacha of korea in the creation of the Mishkan? So the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, in source 38 on page 228 tells us that if the curtain got a hole, right? If a worm made a hole in it, they would cut the curtain further, okay? And then this way they'd be able to patch it up nicer, right? Once got a hole in my tire, went to the tire shop to get it fixed. They cut it, right? And then they put this fire thing in there. They burn it, and so sometimes you have to cut it nicely in order to do the repair. So that's the way they did. And that's where Korea was in the Mishkan. So now the question is, what about my milk bag? So they say now in Eretz Yisrael, milk bag is not so much more common as it was. Still have it. Now there's cartons. So, but at one point it was very common, milk bags. Yeah, definitely cheaper. And her told in Eretz Yisrael also tissues mostly come in bags, not in the boxes, right? Went to some hotel in Pennsylvania once and they asked for tissues. They gave it in a bag. It's cheaper for the hotel to get tissues in a bag. Okay, so what about opening a bag on Shabbat? So the Shulchan Aruch brings down the case of the chotalot. Okay, chotelot is pretty much a bag that had dates and dried figs. And the question is, can a person untie it? Can they break it open? And the Shulchan Aruch says yes. Shulchan Aruch says if the cover is tied with the rope, one may untie it. You can undo the plated strands of rope. You can cut it with a knife. Yeah, you can destroy it. You can open up the package. Because all this, you're just opening a package to get to the food. Mekalkel, you're destroying in order to get to the food.
The bag you have to
Rip it. Yeah, usually most men don't try opening it. We just rip it open. It's like we don't have time to play with it. And that's what we rip.
sometimes you get caught. Okay.
קוריאה, לא, קוריאה זה לכתחילה, זה בסדר. כן, כי the idea is you cannot untie it, so it's tied up, right? I'm bringing the chalot on the Shlishi. I tie up the bag. Now, in order to bring out the chalot on the Shlishi, I have to sit down and untie it. Then untying is not allowed.
Okay, we'll get into tying, but let's look at number 40 now. Mishnah Berurah says a mutter a gam kain likroa the leather mal penei chavit shel yayin uvad, and as long he doesn't intend to make a kind of a spout. Okay, so Mishnah Berurah says you have on a package a seal, you can remove the seal from the package. Or Shabbat says that's, for example, you open a new container of coffee, right? So you have on top of it an aluminum seal, new container of ketchup. So you can definitely remove that on Shabbat. No, even for Ashkenazim, right? It's Mishnah Berurah for Shabbat, right? They hang Shabbat without ketchup.
Yeah. Destroy the bottle. Ketchup.
If you're fashioning a spout out of the leather somehow, I don't know.
By opening, creating.
You're like pouring it, you're opening it slightly, I guess, and you're making a spout out of it. If you're using it as a spout, yeah. So Mishnah Berurah says. Okay, so now the question is the milk bag. It says the Orchot Shabbat. One should open a bag of milk on Erev Shabbat. If one forgot, right, it is forbidden to open it on Shabbat in the same way you open it regularly. Okay? How are you supposed to open it? In a manner that renders it unusable. You have to destroy the bag. It has to be destroyed. And to move the contents immediately to a different container. Okay? That is the Orchot Shabbat. The Orchot Shabbat says if you're opening a plastic bag of milk, okay, you can't just stop open it regularly. No, you can't open it that way. You have to open it by destroying it. You have to make it a mustaki that it's destroyed and it's mekalkel.
Between the coffee and the milk. The coffee tells you can open and use it. And the milk that tells you
Right.
you have to break it and then take another thing. Why?
Okay.
The coffee is also holding.
Okay, so simply like this. Very good. That's right. So Rabbi David is correct. The cover on top of the coffee and the ketchup bottle, it's not part of the keli. It's not. You're not making. It's just something that was added on later. It's not right. It's a sticky. It's something else. It's not connected to it. Okay. The bag is the keli, and you're opening the bag. It's not like there's a separate piece from it.
The coffee is not connected.
No, that seal. That seal is a seal. It's not the keli.
The black coffee.
I'm talking about a jar.
The
Jar.
Yeah.
Seal, aluminum seal on the top of the ketchup bar. Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee is a bag, so it's like the milk. Okay, so according to the Hot Shabbat, if you're opening it on Shabbat, you have to open it in a way that you're destroying the bag, and you have to immediately put it somewhere else. Okay, he says the poskim disagree if one may open the bag with the shinoi, such as with his teeth, or by opening it wider than normally does. Some permit and some forbid. Okay, so the Orchot Shabbat says the real way to do it is to destroy the bag when opening it. Okay, that's mekalkel. That's not making sure it's not makei patish, not a petach yafa. Fine. The Pnini Halacha and Rabbi Tzin Abba Shaul, they permit opening a bag of milk or a bag of anything normally. Okay,
Thank you.
so take a look at Bnei Halacha in source 43 on page 230, and he writes, one, we make a hole on top of a bag of milk or juice in order to pour out the liquid. Open the top of the bag of the sugar that is glued shut, and rip open bags of candies or other food. Like we saw, the hotelot that you can open up, there's no problem. Because some are strict and they're not open bags or packages. If the food will remain inside for a while. So some are strict that if you leave the food in there for a long time, means I opened it, I didn't remove it and put it back. I'm leaving it inside. Okay? There are some who are machmer. Because what happened? You made a keli. That's usable now, even though it has the original stuff inside. It's creating a keli. That's the Chazon Ish. The only way to open such a bag, according to them, is to tear it apart entirely and to remove the contents and put it in another container. Okay? Right. So that will be the Chazon Ish. That's the Chot Shabbat. Those are those who say that you can't open it up unless you're Mikalkel, you destroy it and you put it into a different container. He writes, Rabbi Melamed writes, Lamaisa halacha kedivra mekalim. Really, it's like those who are lenient.
Because it's a keep, has no chashivut.
The bag has no importance. It's thrown out after the food they contain is finished. Therefore, you open it, and whatever way enables easy removal of their contents, and he may use them until the food inside is used up. Okay, so right, so you have a big bag of potato chips, and you're opening it up. Right, and you can't leave that potato chips in that bag.
You don't have to do that.
Rabbi Melamed says in the Mekel opinion, he says you could, and you can leave it in there until you finish the contents, even if it's after Shabbat. Now, they don't talk about the case that I asked you. That was my question. That was I'm the super guy. I already took it out of the bag. Okay? Can I put it back inside the bag? Because there is an opinion that says I can't even leave it in the bag. Another opinion says you can remove, you can leave until you finish it. But does that mean I can go back? I didn't finish the whole bag of chips. Can I put it back inside that bag? Because now I'm really using it as a container. The whole idea here is it's not a container, and as I remove it, I'm going to throw it out afterwards. But now I'm going back and I'm putting it back in. The seal bags, but it's already there.
The clip, you finish the chips, you just seal it and then still the holding on.
It's a good question. Okay, so we're going to get into bags of potato chips. Let's look at bags of potatoes. I might not have the answer for you, but let's take a look.
It's not a clip.
Wait, if the zip, I'm thinking, if the Ziploc, if the Ziploc bag,
Guy said you're throwing it to the garbage.
right? But the Ziploc bag is already made that way, right? It's open, closing, opening, closing.
What about the clip that comes separately and then you put it on the chips bag and then you?
Or they come. You're saying
The plastic thing, but you use crackers, whatever it is, you click it and then you have a.
But it's only to hold the thing.
when did you open the bag? I think the problem would be more than opening the bag. If I open the bag before Shabbat and I want to use clips, I don't see a problem at all.
You open it on Shabbat.
If you open it on Shabbat,
And those clips, you have them in the drawer. I don't give finish the whole bag.
I don't think that clip is a problem because what's the clip already doing?
Not clip, but I'm using the bag.
I'm leaving it in there. Right? Rabbi Lamed said, as long as I'm leaving it in there, and it's not like I'm putting stuff inside there. I'm leaving it in there, and when I finish it, I'll throw it out eventually. So I don't see a problem with clipping it. Just stop putting a mechanical clip on it.
As long as you don't pour it back in.
Right. I'm making that chilek of not pouring it back in. I don't know if anyone brought it in. I'm understanding it that way. He's saying,
it's like katami.
Yeah.
Right.
You use it once, you didn't throw it out.
Right.
Okay, now
so he's saying as long as you're still using it, so can I put it back in? I don't know. I'm not that clear on that.
It doesn't have a dean of permanent use. It's just that I happen to do it, but it's not permanent. So now on these bags are permanent? No, but that I do.
Most
But
of the people.
I hear your tzad. I'll say your tzad this way.
בצבא זה בחיים לא כלי בשבילי.
יפה.
זה מחזיק את האוכל, אני גומר, זורק לצוות.
You identify as a bag, but you're not a bag.
Okay. Shmirat Shabbat Kil Chatat, source 44. Shmirat Shabbat Kil Chatat says regarding bags, whose contents are usually emptied out immediately, such as small sugar packets in the hotels, right, and packages of sweets and the like. That's definitely allowed to open on Shabbat
No,
because
but he only used half of it.
no, because why is he saying
No,
it's
he
allowed?
doesn't-
No. His whole svara is you can end up using all of it.
No, but he doesn't. That's what I'm trying to
No.
say. He used only
No.
half of it.
The idea is it's a small packet, so I'm using the whole thing. But then he writes in 45, he writes bags that are not normally reused after they open, the contents are removed, right? One may not open them. The reason that there's still potential for a person to keep their contents inside if they're open. So one should not open them, even when immediately dispose of the content. Therefore, one should not open any canned goods. Shmuel Al-Ghaddad says, since you can leave it there, it's considered a package, considered a keli, a makir fatish. You can't use it. And then he writes on page 232, but there are those on a mekel to open container drink cans and packages, which people do not usually reuse after removing the content. If one opens them in a manner that one does not intend to make a neat opening for use. If one plans to reuse them, even these lenient opinions forbid them opening.
Nobody
So
plans to reuse. They said that we have it, okay, but not that too. Nobody looks at it. It's not permanent from now on. This is permanent. No, it's still one-time use.
what does it mean reuse them? That's my suffix here. What does it mean to reuse
Like
them?
you said, they used only half of it. Now
No,
it's
I
closing it.
I
Because
agree with
it's
you.
closing,
If it's left inside, if it's left inside and I close it, not a
No,
problem. I
I
agree
filled
with
it
you.
up. I had leftover. I
Right.
had
That's my
not the
shayla.
leftover, the guest left already, and I have the left.
So why am I putting it back in that bag?
In the bag.
Why am I putting it back in that bag?
I want to keep the nut.
Oh, so I'm reusing it as a container. That's the problem.
But
That's the problem.
let's
You-
take a definition of container. What is a container?
If it's
Piece of paper is a container.
you're going with the you're going with the shot that it's a
I'm
package,
asking you.
it's a wrapper. It's not a container.
Look, this paper I'm gonna.
But the nice stuff you're putting it back, you're saying it is a container.
No.
I'm quiet. I put it back in the wrapper.
The paper I'm gonna put over here, Garani, close it, so that it become a clean.
Okay. Take a look at that box over there. They all rule leniency. That one may open food bags, even if the bag will continue to be used to hold the food for a longer period. Like we said, still there. You can leave it in there. The tops of such bags are sealed during production in such a way that they may open easily. Thus, in his opinion, this is not considered ripping.
Hollow from the back.
Yeah.
Overnight, we're gonna put it back in the back. We're gonna put this hollow.
Exactly. This is Kelly.
The hollow gonna get back until the morning. Put it in the back in the bag.
Now the bag was never sealed. It's a sealed bag. Your bag is not sealed. Your challah bag doesn't come sealed. Challah bags come sealed. It's a seal. It's a tire. It's a wrap, or it's a thing in a little plastic it holds. It's an open plastic bag. Wait, can't use an open plastic bag. Stop it.
Come still.
Stop it. It's an open plastic bag. It's not that I opened the seal. The whole issue when I open a seal, I'm making a pesach yafa. I'm not gonna be patish. I made a keli. This is not making a keli. This is a plastic bag.
From a plastic bag
Okay.
to make a Kelly?
Okay.
You can make a Kelly from plastic.
Exactly, you can. So what's the problem?
Exactly. So there's no a Kelly.
But if it's a sealed plastic bag, then you could make it a keli because you opened it. You opened it.
I never.
So the same, the idea is like that is bad, but then, no. No,
So tape is not a problem. We'll see. A little bluish, like a potato chip bag. How's a potato chip bag? Potato chip bag, corn chip bag, tortilla bag. It's a seal. You open it, you're making a keli. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I will tell you.
How do this thing?
Page.
You break it, then doesn't stand. However, what's name we get it? We get it?
Mustaki.
The mustaki. The plastic bag is exactly like mustaki. The minute you rip it,
I
it's a
agree with
mustaki.
you, but if you're reusing,
Good.
I agree with you. If you're putting the potato chips back inside,
No,
then it's not a mustaki.
it's mustaki because it doesn't stand.
Okay. Okay. Number 47. Number 47. Number 47. There are some on page 233. Some plastic bags that open easily in the place they are fused together, right? So they're fused on the top, open easily. Shimon Zalman Auerbach said permitted to open it in the place it is fused, even if one does not ruin it first. Even if you're not mekalkel the whole bag, it's easy opening. And desire to, even though the fusion is confirmed, then it's also done so easily separated and open. Okay, Rabbi Ribiat, source 48. Bag of food that are made of very thin or flimsy disposable material may be opened in any manner. Right? If it's a cheap bag, you can open it up anyway. Bag and container such as subject to karei or makkah b'patish, when torn or open because they are nothing more than a protective covering. Right? These are not subject to these because they're just a wrapper. Okay, shell of a peanut, peel of a fruit. Depends what type of bag it is.
No, we're talking about potato chip bag.
Okay, so they said it's a flimsy bag, yeah.
So that's it. Even if you put a clamp on it.
It's also okay. The third paragraph. One may open a bag of potato chips and candy, even if the cellophane is stapled shut. One may also tear open a sealed bag containing new stockings, plastic cutlery, paper cuts, balls, because all these types of bags are too flimsy to be reusable and are summarily discarded after use. So everybody says that if the bag is such a cheap bag that you can't reuse it, you can open it up any way you want because it's unusable. What?
Open it and not use
He says even for plastic cutlery, paper cups, and bowls and stuff like that. New stockings as well. It's not reusable. It has an adin of karei or makipadish or nothing. Okay. All right. So here in the laws of Shabbat, Rabbi Nachshon, he writes as follows. He writes, one may open a sealed bag of chips or snack even by opening on the creased seal, and one does not have to tear it in a destructive manner. You don't have to be mekalkel. You're just going to open it. Stam, it's not a problem. He brings us from the Chazon of Vadia. Okay. In the Yalkut Yosef, outside the Tzurba for a moment, we on page 233 over here. You write as follows. Okay. So we saw that they were talking about making sure not to tear on the symbols or the letters and stuff like that. So the Yalkut Yosef brings down, if there are words printed on the bottle cap and they become torn when the bottle is open, it's still permitted. It's not considered the malacha of erasing. Likewise, supposed to tear off a plastic cover that commonly is used to seal the bottle over its cap. We talked about that already. Even so, he says, better to open all these bottles before Shabbat. Plastic bags of milk may be torn open on Shabbat, especially if you do mekalkel, you destroy it. Okay. Bags of candies also you're allowed to open. Boxes and wrappers.
I'm allowed to open the whiskey bottle.
The same applies for ice cream bars, soft drinks, and stuff like that. Okay. So you're allowed to open these things. Lamaisa, you're allowed to open these things. And the Yalkut Yosef and the laws of Shabbat, they both seem to say that you don't have to empty it out immediately. You can leave it in there until it actually finishes, and when it actually finishes, you throw it out. Okay. He said new stockings. If the bag is so flimsy that you can't reuse it, then yeah, you can open it. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Now let's move on. Rabotai. Bottle caps. Okay, bottle caps.
Oh, whiskey.
Can we open the whiskey? Can I open the beer?
Coca-Cola.
All right. So there's let's say there's three categories of bottle caps. The easiest one with no problems on Shabbat is your beer cap. Okay, the beer cap, the cap is separate, is not connected to the keli. It's a wedged on top, right? So it's not that I'm opening the cap and I'm making a new keli. They're two separate things, and I'm just taking off the wedge, and the bottle is ready. The issue really is.
For the regular cap.
The issue with the regular cap is that the cap, and take a look at the picture on page 235. You have the plastic and the metal.
When they put it in the machine, it comes in one piece. It's thread. It's not part of the bottle. It's the same as the cap of the beer.
Is it or is it not? So let's go through the sources. The Minchat Shlomo, so Rav Shlomo Zalman, he wants to make a distinction between plastic and metal. Okay? And he wants to say as follows. Take a look at the source number 49 on page 234. Rav Shlomo Zalman says a metal bottle cap, when you open it, what happens is the ring stays on the bottom, right? There's a little ring on the bottom, and it stays on and that thing comes on the top, right?
In the plastic.
He says it's forbidden. It's forbidden to open it. According to Rav Shlomo Zalman. So as long as the cap is attached to the bottom section, it is not suitable for closing another similar bottle. Thus, it becomes usable cap only by separating the ring. And as such, it's considered tikkun keli. What is Rav Shlomo Zalman saying? He's saying as follows. He says, while that metal is connected, so this is not this.
Oh, the
No,
plastic.
no, only if it's plastic.
Plastic?
Soda. Soda.
I don't know what this is. This is definitely plastic.
Okay.
Right, this is your plastic one, right? Okay, fine. But you have some of the metal ones. You take a look at the picture. You see it better in the picture on page 235. He says, you see how it's all connected. He says that the top part, when you open it, you made this a keli. Says Rav
Yes.
Shlomo Zalman.
And drink
Because
water.
now, hey, you drink water from it. I can cover another bottle. That's what Shlomo Zalman says. So what am I doing? I'm opening it and I'm making a keli. So I'm doing tikkun keli, takin mana. That's a problem. You can't open it. So now the plastic one like this, plastic. So what does he say about the plastic? He says that this idea is not true by plastic. Because even before they installed it on the bottle, the ring is mostly separated from the cup. You see in the picture, there's space between the ring and the actual cap. The metal one is all fused together. So when I open it, I create it. You have the picture right in front of you. What do you want me to do? But that's not what he's saying. He's saying as follows. He said, look at the picture.
It's the same thing because the bottom one is only to hold that better.
Look at the picture. He's talking about these two pictures. Okay. The right one is so fused together that when you open the cap, you actually made now a keli. Whereas the other one, the plastic, it's not connected. And the only reason why you have that little bottom ring, he says, is to make sure that it's anchored down so it doesn't fall away when you're shipping it and stuff like that. That's why that's there. But it's not that you're making a new keli. That cap is already separated from before. It's already a keli before. So when I'm opening it, I'm not making a new keli. That's his chiluk.
You could pop it off without even.
Right. That's what he's saying. Right. That the whole idea of that other plastic is to hold it down. But really, you can pull it off. It's come many times where I've opened the bottle and the whole thing comes off with it. The bottom comes off with it. Right?
Okay,
Yeah, it's just tell you if this is already a keli when it's on it from the beginning.
The ring is not a
When it's metal, it separates from this bottom part. It separates from this bottom part. And when it separates from the bottom part, this now became a cap. This now became a keli. And that's what Rav Shlomo Zalman wants to say. Rav Shlomo Zalman wants to say different between metal and plastic. The metal makes it into a keli, and plastic different. See, we can take a look at page 235, where they bring. According to Rav Shlomo Zalman, there's a critical difference in plastic bottles. Caps used commonly for soft drinks. Metal caps often used for certain varieties of wine, grape juice, olive oil. As he explains, metal caps are made as one uniform cylinder, and the upper portion of the cap and the lower ring are separated upon opening the bottle. This act thereby renders the cap a functional utensil. That's makipipatis, right? Which is functional for use for other bottles. With respect to a plastic bottle cap, the ring is already somewhat separate entity from the rest of the cap, and its only function is to keep the cap tight on the bottle before it is opened. So that is our Shlomo Zalman. That's his differentiation between plastic and metal. And he says, therefore, plastic, you'll be able to open it. You're not making a keli on Shabbat. Okay.
According to Rabbi
Shlomo Zalman. Okay, Rabbi Ribiat in source 51. He writes plastic twist-off caps are common in use today, permitted to open according to some poskim, because the cap is complete and functional even before it has been sealed. The cap is designed with a small rim, which allows it to fit onto the bottle and create a seal at the time of bottling, while preventing it from being unscrewed without breaking the ring. A bottle cap is considered complete Therefore, opening this type of cap does not constitute the creation of a new vessel. Exactly as Shlomo Zalman said, it is a keli. Okay. Now, Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata says, so what do? I have the metal cap, and I want to open that drink on Shabbat. So what do? Ah, very good. You make a hole into the metal cap. All right. If you make a hole into the metal cap, you're calculating for food you're allowed to do. And therefore, it's not a keli when I open it. It already has a puncture in it. So keep the fizz inside and keep the fresh, right? The gas and stuff. But he says if you have a metal cap, the only way to open it is using a knife or even a hammer or a nail. So as long as there are no letters or pictures, okay, again, but the Ashkenazim no letters or pictures, then you're permitted to remove the cap. It is permitted to open a plastic screw cap, even if the bottom portion is separate when it's open. Again, so just like Shlomo Zalman, he says the same thing over here. Rav Asher Weiss. Right. No, that's separate. Is that like the Mishnah Berurah that said you're allowed to remove that leather covering from the barrel? Or is it like the ketchup seal, the aluminum seal?
Like perforated.
That part of the cap.
Is it part of the bottle or is it something separate? Does it make it a keli? Doesn't it make it keli?
It doesn't make it keli, but it's perforated.
No, it doesn't
like
make
you
it
said in the
keli.
code.
Right, but we said you're allowed to open up a soda can and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't care about the preparation. If you're machmer, yeah. I understood it as like the seal, like the barrel. That's what I.
No, like pulling it.
Okay. Now that Rav Asher Weiss wants to say that Rav Asher Weiss doesn't want to make it into this metal and plastic. He says, I hear of Shlomo Zalman, but he says, I don't want to make this difference. The truth is, he says that you're telling me that if it's plastic, right, it's already a keli, but once you put it on the bottle, that keli is not functional anymore as a separate keli, meaning this is no longer usable when I put it on the bottle. When it's on the bottle now, can I use this as a keli? When it's closed. Can't take it off and use it. So he says, now that I'm opening it, I'm remaking the keli. And if I'm remaking the keli, it's makir the patash at this time. And therefore he says you can't even open up a plastic bottle. That's Rav Asher Weiss. He's even more machmer. Okay, so there are even Ashkenazic opinions that say you can't even open plastic. Sometimes you open plastic, not a problem. You can't open plastic. Yeah, you'll have to make a hole into the plastic before opening it. Okay. Now we come to the Yalkut Yosef. Okay, so Rabbi Chaim, I think already skipped ahead. So let's see what the Yalkut Yosef has to say. So he talks about the Bakbuk Mitz Anavim or Tempo. Okay, so Tempo is apparently right now it's called Jump. Right now it's called Jump. It's in note number 43. So Tempo was one of Israel's largest soft drink brands. Today it produces beer and fruit drinks under the brand name Jump, and it also is the bottler for Pepsi in Israel. Okay, so Tempo that is sealed with a metal or plastic bottle cap, tightened around the neck of the bottle, which is separated from the lower portion of the cap upon opening. So the Yalkut Yosef combines plastic and metal. There is no prohibition of destroying, which is a rabbinic prohibition when separating the cap. Nor is there any mitakin keli, says Kamabadia. It says the Yalkut Yosef. There is no mitakin keli. You're not making a keli by rendering the upper portion usable as a cap. For a different bottle. But one who is stringent as a matter of chassidut, right, and opens bottles and separates the ring from the cap and Erev Shabbat, tavo alav beracha. Okay, so Yalkut Yosef says there's no making any keli. He doesn't give his reason why it's not a keli. We'll see if the Chavadat gives a reasoning for that. But he says when you're opening it, you're not making a keli, and you're mekalkel for food, it's not a problem. You can open up your bottles regularly. Even if there are letters printed on the bottle cap, and the letters are ripped when it's open, still permitted. There's no concern of buying the malacha of erasing. Similarly, one is permitted to tear open the plastic wrapper around the cap of a wine bottle. However, as a matter of chassidut again, you should open up before Shabbat. Although it's a psik reisha, think about what's it called, cutting the letters. One does not derive any benefit from it. So psik reisha le'nichalei. and it's a rabbinic matter, and it would be permitted. Okay, so the Alkut Yosef makes life for Sfaradim very easy. Okay, you have the bottle, you can open it. Letters on it, no letters on it, plastic, not plastic, wedged. Okay, you can open all your bottles. I remember when I was in camp or Shraga, right? And as when I was there 4 summers. 3 summers I worked as a waiter there, right? So on Shabbat, all the Ashkenazim were like, open.
I would know.
I mean, the shop was opener for them. Okay.
You choose that one.
What? Yeah, sure.
No?
Sure, you're allowed to open it.
אם אחד העולה חזן, בקרס מרוקאי, עכשיו זה ראש חודש.
Yaakov said you could. You couldn't even ask them. Yeah. Yes.
אתה מתכוון יותר או יותר?
לא, אני שואל אם
מוציאים אותו להורג, בוא נגיד
Okay. We'll take a look at the Yechavedat. The Yechavedat on page 238, source 55. Okay, he writes, one on Shabbat. May one open a bottle of grape juice or temple that is sealed with a metal cap that is tightly around. And he writes, so now he reminds us what he wrote earlier, right? What we saw earlier. Nimsa Sharov HaPoskim, Baltzavam, Harif, Harambam, Soivrim, Shagam Keli Shalei Mutter Lishbar Beshabes, Kidei Little Imenu Machal Mashke, the Karv Leimer, Shagam Rashachanach, Iluroi Divra Poiskim, Poisek, Lahakal, Fil Shalei Ben Mustaki. So says Chamavadia, first of all, everything that we're talking about is because we're saying that you can only open a mustaki. And if it's not a mustaki, then blah, blah, blah. But he says the truth is, there are many poskim that say you can open up any keli on Shabbat. There's never a binyan and steer on Shabbat. So therefore, it's not a problem. All right? It's not a problem. Straight off the bat. Now he says, according to now, the way that we're learning, like Shulchan Aruch, who did say mustaki, and we're all trying to go with the mustaki approach. So he said that Sofer Shlomo Zalman Auerbach that he forbid opening a bottle when removing a metal cap. You don't destroy it first. But he says, in his opinion, says Chamavadia, it's a permitted, despite his arguments. Why? So this is important. What does he say? Since even before fastening the cap on the neck of the bottle with the machine, it already has the status of a vessel. And while it covers a full bottle, it has the status of a vessel. If so, there's no fixing it at all when opening the bottle. So what Chamavadia is saying, guess what? Before they put this cap onto the metal cap with the ring and all that, before they put it onto the bottle, it was a separate keli. So it was a keli.
No.
It was. And now it's on here, it's still the same keli. I take it off, it's still the same keli. So he's saying it's not that I'm making a keli when I separate it from the ring. It's already a keli. It was usable with the ring on, it was usable with the ring off, it was usable as a keli, therefore I'm not making it a keli. That's why it says no metakin mona, it's not tikkun keli, because it already was a keli. Right? This is not like Rav Asher Weiss. Rav Asher Weiss is like, it's not a keli, it's a back of keli, it's still a problem. Somebody is like, no, it was a keli from beforehand, it was a keli when it was on, it's keli when it's off, it's a keli it was, he never made anything. Then he says, he says that no one's having kavana to make it a keli. Your whole kavana when you're opening it is to just to get to the things. Sikresha, who cares about it? I don't care to make a keli, not make a keli. I just want to get to my drink. Okay. He says that the Rav Menachem Ernberg also ruled leniently, but then he writes, "Ve'emnam toy lizar midas chasidos liftoach bakbuk me'erev Shabbat." Right? He says that's the proper thing to doing is to open it before Shabbat. If someone didn't, then he has what the Rishayim to open it on Shabbat. So Lama said, the Mikra Hadin, you're allowed to open up Kalim on Shabbat. Okay? But we like to go with the approach of the Mustaki. That's the only one you're allowed to open. So in anything that's going to be making a Keli and making Makiv Pat, it's going to be an issue. But if you can't open it before Shabbat, you have what to rely on and opening it on Shabbat. So we metal cap is more issue because Shalom Zaman said it's more of an issue. Yeah, but Chavadi didn't see the difference in metal cap and the plastic.
Yes, yes, that's good, plastic.
They squeeze it. So again, I
It's always a keli. It's always a keli before they put it.
The metal one also.
That was a keli. That was also a keli. It was small, and they just
okay,
tightened it.
some takeaways, some takeaways, practical takeaways,
Same thing.
some practical takeaways. First of all, first thing, you have to teach the woman at home that if we're opening up any kalim on Shabbat, they're not to be reused. Okay, that's number one. First thing you have to teach the family at home is that if you're opening up a keli on Shabbat, they're not to be reused. Okay, now, sometimes this bottle or soda can or one of the cans, whatever it is, sometimes they want to use it for arts and crafts, sometimes they use other things. Should make it known that if you're opening a keli on Shabbat, the whole permission is that we're saying it's a mustaki and you're able to throw it out. So you have to in the end throw it out. Shouldn't be reused.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Let's say that bottle, you're gonna use it because you have a hamster, you got a caption on it. But who does that? You're the only one that's gonna do that. Majority of the people would finish that, give it to the.
Okay, that's takeaway number one. So if you're opening a package or a food or something like that, it should what's it called? We're considering it a mustaki. It has to be get rid of afterwards.
Everyone drinks. Something that's.
If you have kavanah to reuse it, it's going to be a problem.
What happens to that one person?
We go with the majority opinion that no one uses it afterwards, but you cannot go ahead and use it. Okay, it has to be thrown out. So that's number one. So that goes back to the question that we had. Okay, that was the question that we had. That goes back to that other question. Okay, then that goes back to my other question. All right, on page 240, Rabotai, we come to our last section here in this shiur of opening packages. So, what about cereal boxes? Okay, came Shabbat morning. I come to the pantry. I want to take out a box of Cheerios. I see the box of Cheerios has not been opened yet. Okay, so I have glue on it, right? So can anyone open it or not? So it says regarding a cardboard box whose edges are glued together, right? And it will not be reused, okay? Or a carton wrapped in paper and glued, it is permissible to open them as well. So you're allowed to open a cereal box on Shabbat. He says in the Ha'ara, he says it's similar to what's it called? Removing the leather from the top of the barrel. I want to get the food, right? I'm just removing the leather from on top of the barrel or the aluminum from on top of the ketchup bottle, right?
We're not worried about it.
Okay, right. So now comes the everyone's issue on Shabbat, right? I'm in the bathroom, the tissue box finished, and I forgot to open the tissue box from I'm talking about tissue box. No. I'm talking about what he's talking about. We'll get into yours next. All right. So I have the next tissue box. Can I open the tissue box normally?
Yes.
Normally? From the side. I said normally. Okay. Okay. So the perforated lines, that's like the soda tab. That's the issue over there. You can't do it. You shouldn't open it. You shouldn't do it. It's gonna come complete. No. You should open it from the side if need be. Usually it's just glue and it's in a pan. Yeah, that's because it's a can. We're throwing it out. It's gonna be more immediate. All right. So here it's right.
No, I understand. What is I'm gonna rip the whole thing.
I'll tell you what I try
to rip the whole thing.
What I try to do at home whenever I buy a case of Kleenex tissues, whatever it is, I go with the girls and we rip each one as soon as we buy it. Then we stack them up. This way, when we know on Shabbat they're ready, we're open. We go with that's the preferred way of doing it.
What about
and if you did it, and if it's closed and you can't open it on Shabbat from the top, here it's glued down. You just open it from here and you take it out from the sides. Very not so convenient, but that's the conditional way. And what?
No, after Shabbat. No.
Okay, now. Okay. All right. So now,
Give you the weight.
Rabbi Tzion before was very interested in general as well about the tissue paper, right? The toilet paper. Okay, so the guy's in the bathroom, and what's it called? He's
No more cut
he
paper.
he did his business, and now he has to come out, and there's no tissues. Okay,
To not come to shoot.
so what does he do? So here we go. He says the procedure is to prepare cut sheets of toilet paper before Shabbat for use on Shabbat. Okay. If someone finds himself in need of toilet paper on Shabbat and no prepared sheets are available to him, right? It is permissible to tear the sheets on Shabbat itself. Right? It is best to tear the sheets with a shinoi, such as by using one's elbow or his foot, doing it in a shinoi type of way. But technically, it's permitted to tear them in a normal manner as well. The main thing is that one must pay no attention whether he's tearing the sheets at the perforated margins or between them. Don't look to make sure I'm trying to just pull it. He says, if you can't do it, yeah, you should do it with the shinoi. No, you should do it with the shinoi. But if you can't do it with the shinoi, sometimes you're in someone's bathroom, they're so small, there's no place to move. You can do it with the shinoi. You're not gonna be able to do it. So he says if you're in such a situation, you can't do it with the shinoi. You can pull it normally. If the sheets happen to tear along the perforations, right, the person has done nothing wrong. All right. If someone is strict and cleans himself without any paper, and he cleans himself with water, he will receive a special blessing from Shemayim. So if you're that's if you have a sink in the bathroom. I preferably like bathrooms with sinks in them. You can take care of all your business before you come out. Okay. What's the shinoi?
Someone goes up for the paper. I discovered with myself. And flush it down the toilet and automatically rinse. You know what I just said?
They're automatically calling me.
You're saying you're using it from the roll, and then you flush and it goes down.
So don't even try. I love it.
I hear you. I hear.
These dogs.
I hear.
So when you do that, they don't. They're a lot. All the time, little by little. The ones that they don't, they're very dry. You better go to Home Depot, buy the number 9 paper.
Okay. They bring from Rav Sternbach and others, and this we would say it's simple, but any paper seal is also you can open no problem on Shabbat, even the badats of where this is, but they hold in Israel that you can open up paper seal, not a problem. Okay, so very good. So let's we have 2-3 minutes on this note. All right, so bathrooms. Can we use wipes? So yes, you could use wipes on Shabbat if when you use the wipe, it's not going to squeeze out liquids. It means they're towelettes that are moist, but not that liquid's going to come squeeze out in them. So you shouldn't put them under the water to make them more wet or anything like that. As long as they're moist enough, you can use them on Shabbat. Furthermore, it's brought down in halacha that everybody who uses the bathroom must use some form of, I'm going to make number 2, must use some form of moisture to clean themselves. Cleaning with just paper is not considered cleaned enough to pray. You can't say, you cannot learn, you cannot daven. Okay? You have to use moisture. You have to use liquid, water preferably. Okay?
Not everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't hold of that. I said, why? What did they use back in the day?
They used stones and rocks.
Pebbles, they had rocks. I'm like, the lawyer.
Yeah. But what happens when you use stones and rocks? I thought about this, Rav Tzion, I thought about this once, and I came to the opinion, if you're using a stone and a rock, you're probably gonna cut yourself and bleed. At some point, you're going.
And you think you have to choose the rounded one.
Yeah, באמת הדבר, the halacha today, the price can say, especially by the Sephardic poskim, you should use wipes or some sort of liquid to wipe yourself clean. You should be able to pray and daven. Okay, Rabotai, the plan is that next week we'll continue in Hilchot Shabbat, and if the olam is maskim, then the Sunday before Rosh Hashanah, we'll go into inyanim of Rosh Hashanah, some halachot and some other inyanim about Rosh Hashanah, so we can come a little prepared. So next week will be Hilchot Shabbat, and the following week will be on inyanim Rosh Hashanah.
So if anybody wants to take
Okay.
home,
Okay. Yasher koach lekulam, Shabbat tov.